Hi, my name is Zunhian, and I'll be starting our presentation on our research. So to start off, I'll just introduce one of my group mates, which is Liu Eugene, Su Zunhian, Angeline Ong, Chao Kai Seng, Felix Sen, Lucas Chai, and Michelle Han. So moving on to the research title, The Effects of Rapid Development of Kuala Lumpur on the Architectural and Place Identity of Petaling Street. And the problem statement or issue statement, the rise of commercialism, influx of foreign workers, economic growth has negatively impacted the architectural and place identity of Petaling Street. And the research question. So for question number 1, how has the economic pressure of rapid modernization affected the use of shophouses in Petaling Street? Question number 2, how has the influx of foreign workforce affected the place identity of Petaling Street? And question number 3, how has the high living costs of Petaling Street affected the local residents? And last of all, question number 4, how has commercialism affected the traditional business or trade owners? And for our abstract, the purpose of this study is to find out how has rapid development of a city, commercialism, and economic pressure directly or indirectly affected the physical aspects like the loss of architectural style and facade of traditional shophouses, and non-physical aspects like the diminishing number of traditional businesses, the diminishing size of original local Chinese community, etc. of Petaling Street. So the study goes in depth about the various byproducts of rapid development of Kuala Lumpur through extensive research of articles, understanding through observations with site visits, and various inputs from long-time regular visitors of Petaling Street. The architectural style of the shophouses in Petaling Street has been changed and lost due to illegal or inappropriate renovations done by irresponsible shophouse owners. They're looking to maximize the economic potential of their shophouse lots, either by changing the facade of the shophouses to become more attracting, adding multiple stories to the shophouses, or both. Furthermore, commercialism, a byproduct of rapid development, is one of the factors of the diminishing number of traditional trades and businesses. Commercialism has created an unfair playing field for traditional trades and businesses to survive and thrive. The increasingly high living costs in Petaling Street has also affected the original local residents there. They are an integral part of the place identity of Petaling Street. Instead, rising prices of regular consumer goods have caused them to move out of Petaling Street in search of better economic conditions or opportunities. Moreover, the use of shophouses has also changed over the year. Today, the entire shophouse lot is only used for commercial purposes rather than a part shop, part house, as the name shophouse suggests. Bringing change to the traditional lifestyle of original local residents there. In conclusion, this study is to help with the understanding of how architecture and place identity of Petaling Street has been changed or lost over time. The study is also to separate specific issues regarding architecture and place identity so that these issues can be resolved separately. So going to question number 1, how has economic pressure of rapid modernization affected the use of shophouses in Petaling Street? The development of the city around Petaling Street has increased the economic pressure of owners of the shophouses. The fast development also introduces a lot of new competition that draws a lot of visitors away from Petaling Street. So as you know, Kuala Lumpur in the past few decades have developed a lot as a major city in the world. So that will also bring some consequences, either good or bad. So economic pressure, a new competition and the lack of revenue cause shophouse owners to do illegal and inappropriate renovations or modifications to the original shophouses. This is to increase the use space and to maximize commercial use, and basically to maximize the economic potential of the shophouse lots. This causes a disruption of identity of traditional architecture in Petaling Street, because original shophouses are either 2 stories to 2.5 stories tall, but now they're being modified to become multi-story tall buildings, and their facade is modified to become more attracting. So the example on the left you see is the original shophouse, how it was supposed to look like. It's just 2 stories here, and you can see the 3 windows, but it's not obviously is not very taken well care of. And on the right, you can see like the inappropriate modifications done to the original shop houses. So before it was 2 stories, now it's like 6, 7-story buildings. You know, the architectural facade has been changed dramatically to maximize economic potential. And in conclusion, this just gives a false representation of traditional architecture in Petaling Street. And for the case study, will be Magazine Street in Penang. So despite economic pressure, the shop houses still remain in good conditions. The original architectural style of the shop houses still remain due to it being properly conserved. There isn't any outrageous renovations that change the whole makeup of the shop houses. Yep, they still remain their 2-story and a 2.5-story tall. So to this day, most shop houses are still in use for modern and traditional businesses. This is a successful conservation and use of shop house for traditional businesses and modern businesses. And moving on to question number 2, how has the influx of foreign workforce affected the place identity of Petaling Street? So we're just losing any sense of genuine traditional businesses that have been passed down for generations. Instead, replication of traditional businesses by foreign workers. In terms of tourism, people come to Petaling Street expecting to see Chinese people and interact with them, but instead is greeted with foreign workers. The traditional vernacular is no longer practiced or spoken. So because it's foreign workers, so English or Malay is spoken, which just defeats the purpose of like a so-called Chinatown. The place identity of Petaling Street is no longer the same as olden days. And this just causes the original Chinese culture within Petaling Street to slowly diminish away. As a case study, and we want to find out like how and why does other Chinatowns still preserve their Chinese community? Why is it important? Chinatown, our case study will be Chinatown in Melbourne. So how the Chinese community is still running and sustaining their family-owned traditional businesses after a few generations. They have a monthly tradition where traditional Chinese night market is held on the third Friday of every month to sell varieties of Chinese traditional goods and foods. There are various kinds of traditional Chinese institutions that can be found around the area. Around the area, they kept the Chinese language alive by having signboards and menus having Chinese words in it. Why? So the main reasons for Chinatown to exist in Melbourne is to help curb feelings of homesickness. Other than that, it is a place for Chinese residents, students, or any of the locals of Melbourne to buy groceries and other items that cannot be easily found elsewhere. Lastly, it helps provide source of connection to the Chinese community as well as sustaining the Chinese culture. So in terms of it relating back to Petaling Street, I feel like we also need a place where we can call home, a feeling of home. So going on to question number 3, how has the high living costs of Petaling Street affected the local residents? A rise of price in simple things like a cup of coffee has impacted the local community there. Before, they would go there for a cheap coffee and a place to lounge. Nowadays, the number of original kopitiams have decreased and the price of a simple cup of coffee has increased. Some shophouse owners does illegal renovations rather than hiring traditional style architects and artisans as they are relatively cheaper, thus causing the destruction of his original place and architectural identity. Needing to pay off the high living costs in Petaling Street, some local residents renovates the entire unit using it for commercial purpose. They use it for business rather than for business and residential, thus losing the meaning of the shop houses, the part shop and part house. So due to high land value, some local residents are also forced to move out, thus resulting in abandonment of shop houses, as you can see in the picture here. And there are a number of abandoned shop houses in Petaling Street. And the case study will be to show the example of places for affordable goods. Kasturi Walk is a good example. It's a covered open air flea market, a lane running alongside Central Market. In the flea market, there are local snacks and vendors selling fake label handbags, watches, t-shirt, flip-flops, fruits, etc. The goods are reasonably priced, plus its convenient location makes a trip here worthwhile. And another example will be Petaling Street, Kuala Lumpur. Petaling Street is known as the shopper's heaven or foodies galore. The whole street is practically littered with fake branded items. Example of fake branded items sold in Petaling streets are handbags, watches, trainers, clothing, and etc. The street is also filled with opportunities to sample a delightful array of local cuisine. Common cuisine found on the street are Chinese restaurants, seafood restaurants, and snack stores. And moving on to the last question, question number 4. How has commercialism affected the traditional business or trade owners? It has put traditional trade business owners in pressure due to the new competition of mass-producing goods by major corporations. This has created an unfair playing field where traditional business owners have to compete with mass-produced products, which are perhaps as good, if not better, than the products created with traditional methodologies. The low cost of mass-produced products have also given the major corporation the advantage of selling the products at a lower price, thus just attracting more consumers away from traditionally created goods or products. And at the end, this causes the number of traditional trades and businesses to go out of business and begin to diminish. So a case study is how traditional businesses thrive even with competition from commercialism. The example would be Petaling Street, Kuala Lumpur. These traditional businesses have withstood the test of time and commercialism. A lot of these traditional stores still maintain its genuine traditional style, which attracts loyal customers, locals, and even tourists. Most of these traditional businesses are food businesses that have been passed down for generations. Example of places like Restaurant Kim Lian Ki, Kim Soya Bean, Ayam Mata Kucing, Petaling Street, Restaurant Kong Ki, Petaling Street Night Market. But there are only a handful that still survive, so it's quite rare to find restaurants that still survive and withstood the test of time. How? Most successful traditional businesses are popular due to it being able to bring consumers something unique. Thus, many of their consumers are loyal customers, the locals and also tourists. These traditional businesses maintain the quality of goods and service provided to stand out from competition. Certain traditional businesses also get involved with commercialism like the night market to boost business opportunities. The availability of cheaper products is also another reason why traditional businesses thrive even with competition from commercialism. And in conclusion, this study is to help with the understanding of how architecture and place identity of Petaling Street has changed or lost over time. In this day and age where a major city like Kuala Lumpur is going through rapid modernization progression, if the original and traditional sense of Malaysia is not cared for or taken for granted, it may cause permanent damage or loss of a very important piece of history and identity of Malaysia. And that will be all. Thank you.